Hello, it's Ian, Somerset News Network. Listening to the news this morning, Starmer's still there. For 4 days, they've been telling us that Starmer is about to resign. Over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, they were saying that it looks like Starmer is going to resign on Monday. It's now Wednesday, and he's still there. And he ain't going. Mandelson's gone. That's the scandal when it started. His chief of staff, McSweeney's gone. His communications director, can't remember his name, he's gone as well. And Starmer is still standing. Is Starmer using that? No, Mandelson had to go. I've no problems with that. But his main staff, is Starmer using them as collateral damage so he can stay in office? He's got no morals whatsoever. He's proven that. I've titled this, he's still there. He hasn't gone yet. Now, the Labour Party, when Starmer was in opposition, they absolutely hounded Boris. And they used a photograph of him in a doorway with a drink at Christmas with number 10 staff. Now, they worked together, for Christ's sake. He was 6 feet away from them. They must have interacted in number 10 to do their work. So what was wrong with him standing there having a Christmas drink with his staff? And the Labour Party absolutely hounded him for months until he resigned. Starmer, on the other hand, has tried to sell the Cocos Islands off, give it to Mauritius. There one commentator said that Mauritius has given him citizenship. I'd like to know if that's true. If you know, put a comment down below. The commentator also said that Starmer was working with the Russians and the Chinese to declare the island illegitimate, and we had to hand it over, which is where it comes from, through the UN. So Starmer was working on this before he became Prime Minister, according to the commentator. Now, we have got the island. And during the late 1700s, early 1800s, we fought slavery. And we used our Royal Navy to do it. We intercepted slave ships, took the slaves off. We took them to free countries where they could live without being slaves. We also took them to the island. And they were free slaves. It was a dependent island on us. During the Second World War, the Americans built an air base there to oversee the Indian Ocean, because we were fighting the Japanese and the Germans. And then Starmer comes along. He's worked with the Russians and the Chinese to get this idea that we're holding the islands illegally and we got to give them back. And we got to give them 27 billion. Or is it million? No, billion, I think it was, over so many years. And we will lease it back. So we got an island. We've got possession of it. We own the island. And he's going to give it up, and then we got to rent it back. That's craziness. The Americans under Trump from last January, not this January, last January, were persuaded that it was a good deal. Then Trump found out that Starmer had been lying to him. So Trump put a kibosh on the deal. The House of Lords had the bill to give the islands over and squashed it, threw it out. Now, Starmer staff said, they might have to use the Parliament Act. That means an act from the House of Commons that goes to the House of Lords. If it's rejected 3 times by the House of Lords, the Commons can put it through anyway. But it's the political fallout from it. And Starmer thinks he's a dictator. Because we are under the tyranny of this Labour government. Now, he appoints Mandelson. Last Wednesday, we'll see what happens this Wednesday. Last Wednesday, Kemi asked him straight, did the security services tell you that Mandelson was still having a relationship and seeing Epstein after he came out of prison for being a paedophile? Starmer stood up and said, yes, it did. So he knew. That's the crunch. He knew. He knew that Mandelson was still seeing Epstein after he came out of prison. Epstein was paying his husband, was his boyfriend, a Brazilian boy. You know what I mean? Nudge, nudge, wait, wait. Right? 15,000 a month or something for a course or something or other. But then that was going to the joint account for both of them. Starmer was given a villa that Epstein owned. I don't know which one it was. I don't know where it was. It just says that Epstein gave Mandelson a villa, but it was put in the name of his husband, of Mandelson's husband. You know, the Brazilian boy. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Then there's a photograph of Mandelson in his undies with a lady in a bathrobe. Looks, I know her face is blacked out, and I asked the question, was it Meghan Markle? Still haven't had an answer. Got threatened with a lawsuit. So that leads me to believe that it was true. Can't prove it, but allegedly. Now, Starmer knew all this, and he still sent him over to the United States. My personal opinion, my view, is that David Lammy was the Foreign Secretary. Obviously, Starmer was the Prime Minister. He needed someone he could trust that would work with them to embarrass Trump. Remember, they were going to get the deal. Now they're going to go and talk to the guy that wrote The Art of the Deal. Does multi-million-pound deals all over the world. Builds skyscrapers and golf courses. And these three are going to try and stitch Trump up to embarrass him. That's what Mandelson was there. The idea that he was friends with Epstein after he came out of prison. Didn't matter. No morals, you see. On most of the things I've done in my life, I had to be of moral character. And you can safely say that Mandelson is not of moral character. But he still gave him the job anyway. Misjudgment? No, wasn't misjudgment. It was calculated. We wouldn't find out. That'd be all right. We won't say anything. Sweep it under the carpet. That is why Starmer has to go. They've cancelled elections, council elections, which is tyranny. Starmer has to go. He can't keep his staff. Rayner's gone. Didn't pay the tax on a house. There was a corruption minister who was found corrupt. She had to go. It's just unbelievable. They moaned when they were in opposition. They had to go to the Tories and Tory sleaze for years. All from the time the Tories were elected. They talked about Tory sleaze, and we're going to stop sleaze. We're going to be above all that. And we found they're even worse now under Starmer. Starmer's got no moral compass. He has not got a clue. Yesterday, he kept saying, I was the head of the Crown Prosecution Service. What did he do when he was the head of the Crown Prosecution? I've learnt this after my court case. Well, it didn't go to court. My police investigation, let's say. One-line comment about the pride flag. LBGQ activist complains, uses a sock puppet, a false name, to complain to the police, which is illegal. Police never investigated that. I found out later that the police officer is the guy who complained, who's the LBGQ activist, is in his club. You can't make it up, I tell you. Luckily, it was before Starmer came to power. So it was under the old regime. LBGQ were trying to get this non-crime hate incident thing going. And offensive language against homosexuals and transgenders. So if you said anything against the pride flag, and which I said was factual, then that's offensive. And if it's offensive, that's then a crime. How can you say something that is true and then they say it's offensive? This is all under Starmer. Starmer, as head of the Crown Prosecution Service, instructed the police to believe the victim. So the sock puppet who complained sent an email to the police saying that she was offended and it was offensive language. It wasn't. It was just the truth. It was a factual statement I made. Police officer said, you've got to be ever so careful because they might be offended. Now, we now find out that it's LGBTQ, Stonewall and all that lot that are advising the police on hate crimes. No bias there then. And Starmer's allowed it to happen. I think if I was arrested after Starmer had been elected, I would have been inside with Tommy Robinson and Lucy Connolly. Because it was a non-crime hate incident to start with, then it became a hate crime, and then it became malicious communications for one Facebook comment that was factual and true. And it became malicious communication under the Starmer government, because that must have been the memo that went out. So Starmer has to go. We have to get back to stopping people who make Facebook posts and tweets that other people don't like as a hate crime. This has to stop. If I say something and you don't believe it, or you're offended, I'm sorry, I can't help that. Anyway, Ian, Somerset News Network, bye-bye for now.